Will Johnson had a toe injury, and lower body injuries are never great, but like, they weren't going to amputate his foot.
Yeah.
He's not trying to cover wide receiver ones with a peg leg out there. He was going to be fine.
He could still cover Alan Lazard with the peg leg.
Jeez, all right.
Great YouTube video, by the way. Will Johnson with the peg leg covers Alan Lazard. Who wins?
Welcome to the opening bell of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That's Connor Rogers joining you guys after week 1 of the 2025 NFL regular season. And that means it's time for the first edition of What Matters Most, baby, for the 2025 season. Connor, how you doing, my friend?
I'm great. Pretty stressful Sunday in the best possible way. It felt like there was so much going on at the same time all the time. There wasn't a lot of games that ever got out of hand. Obviously, for a week 1 slate, there was even the games where you look at the bigger spreads didn't really turn into, blowouts or anything like that for the most part. So it was pretty awesome week 1. I'm glad you and I got to divvy up these games and kind of give our takeaways from them, which a little bit of a rookie focus at times, but also a big picture focus as well.
Yeah, so if you are new here, what we do on the in-season episode on Monday is we do a show format called What Matters Most. So we're not necessarily going to get into the nitty-gritty of like, okay, this is exactly how this game, came about. Like, this is how the result happened.
Right,
we're not looking at... Yeah. What we're really trying to do is, of course, this is a draft podcast. So what we're doing is we're truly looking at every game and we're telling you what matters most from sort of a draft and team building perspective. So we'll talk about offensive lines, we'll talk about quarterback situations, defenses, when coaches are on the hot seat, how much things are changing. We'll talk about the rookies like Connor mentioned. But if you are looking for us to break down exactly what went into a game, we're not going to spend a ton of detail on that. It's more of that team building draft perspective as this obviously is a draft podcast here. So Connor, we have a ton of games to get through, and we've got a tight deadline in this one. I know that people like when we go like 2 hours long, but this is not going to be a 2-hour-long podcast. We got a tight deadline here as Mondays are pretty busy for both of us, but we wanted to make sure that we got the podcast out to you guys. Where do you want to start? Because we divvied up these games, so we obviously watched a little bit of everything, but we wanted to hyper-focus on, what was it? 6 each? 7 each? Whatever it was?
We each have 7. But since we're doing this before Monday Night Football, there is technically one extra game that we'll just have a long conversation on together.
Yes. Okay. So I will give you dealer's choice. Where are we starting with this one?
Well, I think we're going to start with you because we'll kick it all the way back to the opener, Eagles-Cowboys on Thursday. Okay. And then I will gladly follow you for the Brazil game Friday, which was electric between the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Can totally do that. So what I thought mattered most here for the Eagles-Cowboys game, which the Eagles win this game, is first and foremost, the Cowboys aren't going to be a pushover this year. And that matters most for a draft podcast because, when you and I went through our way too early mock draft last Monday, we had the Cowboys picking 9th, but I think even when we had them on the clock, we were like, this team might stink. So they might be picking a little bit higher than 9th. If Dak looks like that,
right,
they're going to win a lot of football games. Well, they're going to win a lot more football games than I think that we previously believed they were going to when they traded Micah Parsons. That's probably the best way to say that. So Dallas, they have Green Bay's extra first-round pick, which, holy cow, Green Bay looks like their pick is going to be far into the 20s for Dallas. But it might not be this, Dallas is going to be picking in the top 5 like we thought they were going to. So I think that certainly matters most from that game, that I really do think that Dallas is going to win a lot more games this year. But on the Eagles side of things, I'd focus more on the rookies. Dude, Jihaad Campbell looked awesome. He had like an 88.9 overall PFF grade in his first game there with the Philadelphia Eagles. And obviously playing next to Zach Bond,
right,
Defensive Player of the Year type of candidate last year, that certainly helps. But it just got me to thinking, man, you look at him, you look at how great Will Johnson looked for the Arizona Cardinals. I understand why teams take medicals very seriously. You don't want to have guys that you're drafting and they're not available for you right away. Or you just don't want to say, like, okay, there's an injury concern for this player, so who I'm watching on tape maybe isn't the player that I'm getting in the NFL. The dartboard of hitting a draft pick is difficult enough. When you throw in injuries that you may have knowledge of, I don't think a lot of teams stay away from those. So that's why Jihaad Campbell gets drafted at the back end of the first round. That's why Will Johnson gets drafted in the second round. But if you ask my opinion, I think teams go a little overboard with it. I think teams go a little too far on the safe side of caution when it comes to draft process injuries that might get flagged. Knee injuries that might linger, chronic injuries, that's sort of one thing. But like a shoulder injury that it seemed like Jihaad Campbell was going to be fine from. Will Johnson had a toe injury, and lower body injuries are never great, but like they weren't going to amputate his foot.
Yeah.
He's not trying to cover wide receiver ones with a peg leg out there. He was going to be fine. Maybe he was. Hey, take it off and use it as a weapon.
He can still cover Alan Lazard with the peg leg.
Jeez, all right. But I just wanted to
YouTube
bring
video, by the way. Will Johnson with the peg leg covers Alan Lazard. Who wins? Oh, another interception from Will Johnson.
Alan Lazard, healthy scratch.
Yep.
Healthy scratch. Which is not great. So that was my big takeaway. Before we get too off the rails, that was my big takeaway. Is like watching Jihaad Campbell play really well.
Yeah.
Made me just really think about the injury thing, because I've thought about that a lot. And obviously when you're a GM and your job is on the line, you don't want to draft these guys that have availability issues for you. But I just thought about that with how good Jihaad Campbell looked, especially in coverage. Andrew Makuba, I think, looked awesome as well. Jalix Hunt looked really nice, second-year player. Obviously now him getting a lot more playing time there. So the rookies in Philadelphia, I thought looked great. Philly's going to be good again. They're going to contend for another Super Bowl. But I just wanted to point out how those rookies looked, and then obviously how Dallas looked, and that was what matters most for me from this game.
Yeah, it's a really good points by you, and you think about who you're talking about when you're coming off a Super Bowl win, and you're a team that's established so much depth, like the Eagles. You have a luxury that a lot of other teams can't afford, where you could take the risk on the health risk kind of guys, where they do it. They do it. Some teams have medical staffs that they won't even let you put the player on the board. But when you're the Eagles, you're kind of playing in a different field than everybody else, and it kind of looks like a situation right now that might pay off big dividends. The next night, Friday night, we had Chiefs-Chargers in Brazil, which obviously this division is just jam-packed with talent.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
How in the world, with all of the pregame spectacles that we do for these international games, how is Vin Diesel not center field to just say, "This is Brazil," like he did in Fast and Furious? How did we not make that happen?
Because they had to have Mr. Beast on things. I mean, Mr. Beast would be the type of person to make
Mr. Beast will cancel this podcast. You better watch your mouth.
He would have somebody in a peg leg cover Alan Lazard for a video. That's something that he would do.
That is actually a Mr. Beast type of video.
That's it. So that's why you didn't get your Vin Diesel 50-yard line stunt. That was a great idea, but sorry, you were robbed of it for content creators, which is, I say that tongue-in-cheek and very ironically, sitting here behind a microphone making a video for YouTube.
As a content creator.
As a content creator. This is actually one of the games where I was less focused on the rookies as much as Amari and Hampton got what was there. I didn't think there was a ton of extra yards. He ran really hard. He's a fun element to their offense. But what mattered to me the most in this game, a game in which the Chargers won, is Greg Roman's passing game, Trevor. And
Roman was awesome.
He was awesome. There's a team building element to this because they are a team that when all is said and done, Quentin Johnson, former first-round pick, 5 for 79 and 2 touchdowns. Ladd McConkey, former second-round pick, 6 for 74. And the veteran in Keenan Allen, 7 for 68. And even Tyler Conklin went 2 for 50. That does not look like a Greg Roman box score. And when you watch this game, some of the concepts that they were running, they had one play where I think it was Ladd was it was play action to the left side, then a fake screen to the right side, and then Herbert pushed the ball down the field when it pulled the defense up to Conklin. So it was just a lot of, they ran 10 personnel, 5 snaps. When do you see the Chargers out there running 10 personnel, but the balance was great. They ran 11 personnel for 40 of their snaps. They had at least 2 tight ends on the field for 17 of their snaps, of their 62 snaps. So the Chargers, we know they could always play heavy. That's never a question with them. They've accumulated now the receiving talent, and Amari Hampton's going to factor into that down the line. But Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnson stood out to me in this game, and Herbert's legs. They've accumulated the receiving talent that now they're more balanced in the pass game. Greg Roman looks like he's been in the lab all summer. It was really fun to watch.
No, it was great to see the Chargers be able to finish a game. And for anybody out there that's a Chiefs fan, it's not like we're rooting against you, but like the Chiefs have just been winning for so long. And to be honest, it gets to the point where it's like, damn, I mean, like these quarterbacks are playing at such a high level. Like I also want them to feel a little bit of the reward of their talent level. And it just feels like Mahomes has always been in their way. And so it was a big win for the Chargers for sure. I saw a TikTok edit after this game that was... The text said, what Brazilians think Quentin Johnston be moving on. And it's just in the background, it's just Calvin Johnson's best career plays where he's going up and like mossing 3 guys.
I mean, it's spot on, though.
Because they probably think,
who the hell's this?
He's the GOAT.
This guy's unbelievable. Why are the Chargers fans wearing his jersey?
Yeah.
This guy rules. And it's QJ. Good for him, man. Good for him. It's been a rocky NFL road for him. He made some strides last year. I hope he carries this over throughout the whole season. Herbert just looks healthy. It's just such a difference.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's tough to judge the Chiefs really for anything at all with Xavier Worthy going down because I think so much of their game plan was going to be built around him. God, I can't remember how Josh Simmons played in this game.
He had that false start, 1 or 2 of them, but overall, I think it was nothing, anything you were worried about from actual performance. Yeah. I'll pull up his pressures right now.
All the young guys, though. Dude, Joe Alt was unbelievable.
Joe Alt is the prototype.
I saw Mike Redder tweet this out, and I agree with him completely. Watching this game back made me even more angry that Rashawn Slater is out for the year.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the best offensive tackle duos in the NFL. Like, it's basically them or Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson.
Yeah, how many duos can you argue both starters before the season have a shot to be the All-Pro at their position? And they are one of the rare duos that you can make that argument.
Yeah, Joe Alt was unbelievable playing left tackle in this game. Chris Jones went up against him 4 times, 0 pressures allowed, like not even close. Stonewalled him every single time. So, yeah, it was a good win for the Chargers. Really great win for the Chargers. I thought, same thing. Like, Amari and Hampton ran really hard. I still want Amari and Hampton to run more creatively. Like, he wins physically at the position. I still want him to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more patient. But it's game 1 of the NFL. Yep. I like seeing Trey Harris get into the mix as well. Not a ton of snaps for him, but it was great to see him get in the mix there. So I really like that. Let's go to the Sunday slate. Bucs Falcons. Let's talk about what matters most for this game. To me, what matters most, again, because we're not necessarily talking about this from a wins and losses perspective this year. I mean, we do a little bit, but more of like a team building long-term outlook for a lot of these teams. On the Buccaneers side of things, like, Igbuka's the man. Like,
oh my goodness.
he is just, they plopped him into that offense and they relied on him when it mattered most.
It's seamless.
And it's true. It was seamless. You look back on it and you just go, Ohio State wide receivers, you just draft Ohio State wide receivers over anything else, really.
Think of the day they had. We were joking on Fantasy Football Happy Hour that just in Sunday, Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, and JSN all went nuclear.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I'm sure I'm missing people. I know Terry McLaurin had a quiet day, but he's coming off a weird summer.
Quite a program that they have there. So
nuts.
I thought Emeka Egbuka played well, and I wanted to shout him out. But to be honest, I thought I wanted to spend most of the time what mattered most talking about the defensive players for the Atlanta Falcons. And to be honest with you, they weren't ready yet to capitalize on this week 1 opportunity enough to get a win against the Buccaneers. But I do like what I saw. I thought Jalen Walker, for as little time as he played throughout the summer because he was healing up through an injury, it looked fine. He looked fine. Didn't look like a big difference maker, but he looked totally fine. They're playing him on the edge, so they're making him an edge rusher. He was just trying to win with speed to power a lot because he's still mastering those pass rush moves, as we told you guys he would be when they drafted him early when we were going through the scouting process. I was really encouraged by James Pierce Jr. in this game, who didn't have great overall PFF grades, but had an above 20% pass rush win percentage. Graham Barton was having to play left tackle because Tristan Wirfs was out at left tackle, and he exposed Barton. He made Barton overset his kick slide many times, and he countered with an inside counter move. And if you're James Pierce Jr., that is what you need to do in the NFL. You need to consistently win with speed and your first step, the way that he did when he was at Tennessee. You need to do that to beat offensive tackles to their outside shoulder. And then when you get guys that are a little bit heavier in their footwork, they're going to have to try harder and stretch themselves to really be able to corner and get out to a landmark to be able to cut you off to protect their outside shoulder. And when you do that, whoop, I'm in the inside, right? It's a swim move, it's a club rip to the inside, it's a spin move, whatever it is. So seeing that from James Pierce Jr. was great. But I'll tell you, the player that really stood out to me the most is Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts, again, didn't have stellar PFF grades because he didn't get his hands on any of those passes. However, this dude was close. He was just barely underneath that touchdown pass to the front pylon to Emeka Egbuka. He read that perfectly. He just didn't happen to have a 55-inch vertical jump to be able to catch it. But he was exactly where he needed to be if that ball was thrown any flatter. There was another opportunity where Baker was trying to hit over the middle of the field that Xavier Watts was right there for, just like he was when he was at Notre Dame. Then he had another PBU against Emeka Egbuka later in the game. He looked fantastic. The pairing of him and Jesse Bates is going to be fantastic for this Falcons team. To me, that's what matters most. The players that you drafted early in the 2 first-round picks and then Xavier Watts, they already look like they're pretty good. Jalen Walker, obviously, it was, like I said, it was the book's still out on him. It's a wait-and-see type of a thing. But to see what I saw from James Pierce Jr. and Xavier Watts was great to see from the Falcons. So to me, from a team-building perspective, I think that's what mattered most, amongst Egbuka also looking good for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'll throw in one thing before I move to Jets-Steelers. I mean, it was, and obviously I'm biased here, is one of my favorite quarterback prospects we've had in a while. I loved seeing Penix being forced to play a different way, handle quick pressure and play faster rather than being the drop-back three-point shooter we're used to seeing him, and he thrived. Yeah. He thrived doing it.
He's going to be awesome.
They didn't have Mooney. I don't think the last drive they had Drake London, right? London was hurt. I don't think they did.
Was he not in there at all?
I don't think so. The bottom line is whether he got down the field and got them a shot. Like Koo has to make the kick there. So
yes.
Penix, if you're a Falcons fan, your guy under center just keeps showing you everything you could want. And we'll see how far he can take that offense, but there's not many limitations. He played a different brand of football yesterday, and it was impressive. Jets Steelers. I'm going to kick this off.
The under did not hit, by the way.
Not even close. You know, it was funny. I have to do a best Jets bet for Jets pregame. Yeah. And when I was on my way to the city Sunday, I was talking to my producer. Once it got to 37.5, I was out. I'm like, dude, no. And like, this is like, it's got to be, I got to hit these every week because it means a lot on the show. And I pivoted to Justin Fields rushing, which worked out. But it was just funny because I finally hit my breaking point of it. Like all summer, it was like 40.5. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. When I got to 37.5 on Sunday, I was done. I'm like, this is ridiculous. This is like, once again, I always say like Northwestern Iowa level point total. I think it was the lowest week 1 point total in a couple years.
That's disrespect.
Starting with the Jets side, what mattered most to me in terms of how we look at it from a show, it's kind of the combo you just brought up with the Chargers. This young tackle duo has the chance to be special.
Membu whooped ass, man.
Dominated.
He was awesome.
If Membu plays like that the rest of the year, he's going to have a couple teams that picked in front of the Jets going, what? Like, wow.
I don't know, Jim.
Man, he was so good against the run. He was so good in the run game, and he really held his own against TJ Watt. And while Fashanu gave up a sack on a play he oversetted, the rest of the game was pretty damn impressive. They really have something with that tackle duo, the way they can run the ball, the way they can pass protect, and it set Fields up for success, who played as well as you could ask him to play in this game. But the difference in it was the Steelers' veteran roster is took advantage of a very young Jets team, and that was the difference in the game. And a game that the Jets, they outrushed them by 129 yards. They should have won this game, but you have a young kick returner and Xavier Gibson fumble on a kick return that's just inexcusable. You had a lot of just mistakes on the back end, but really the fact that the Steelers, the 60-yarder by Boswell, obviously Rodgers reading a couple miscues on the back end, and Jalen Ramsey made the game-winning play where he actually peeled off his assignment and came down to hit Garrett Wilson to knock the ball out on the 4th down where the Jets could have gotten to field goal range. The Steelers, and they built a veteran team that way for a reason.
Right.
That was what matters most. The Steelers are going to have to beat up on the younger teams with their veterans, and they passed the test week 1. It was sweatier than people thought, but they were able to pass the test week 1. Trevor, they didn't lean. Derek Harmon was out. Caleb Johnson was returning kicks. The backfield is Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. They didn't lean on, rookies to win this game.
Yeah. I think the Jets are going to lose a lot of football games this year. And the reason why I think that is because I think the Jets, 8 to 10 best players are awesome. I don't know about the rest of the group.
They have weaknesses.
And that was the problem, right? Like, they've got Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, even Justin Fields,
Armand
Membu, Olu Fashanu. Like, those guys played great. I don't think they have the guys to fill out the roster. And that's the problem, is when you look at the 4 touchdowns Aaron Rodgers had, one of them was a pop pass.
Right.
One of them was a throw to the flat that Jamie Sherwood was never going to be able to cover just because it's an impossible ask for a linebacker to do. And then the other 2 passes, wide open players, blown coverages.
Yep. Brandon Stevens and the safeties over and over again.
Yeah. So, that's the thing about the Jets is, I think what matters most if I had one for this game is, they're going to lose a lot of games this year, but you kind of want that. Their core 10 players are really good football players. You just have to now build out the rest of the roster the way that Aaron Glenn wants this roster to be built.
I wonder if we have an Azareé Thomas conversation with this team earlier than we expected, filling in for Brandon Stevens. We'll see. Yeah.
So for Browns-Bengals, again, this is sort of like a what matters most thing. I mean, the Browns should have won this game. The Bengals are lucky to get... The Bengals are lucky to get out of it. I talked about this on the PFF NFL show. The Bengals got 7 yards in the second half, 7 total yards. And their drives went 3 and out, 7-play, 17-yard drive that they got off of an interception to kick the field goal to take the lead. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That was the Bengals' drives in the second half. They stunk.
So they had to lose yards on some of those drives. You said they had 7 yards in the second half, which I knew, but they had a 17-yard.
Correct.
So they were just getting pummeled.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And as Smith kicks the, whatever it was, 35, 40-yard field goal or whatever, the Browns end up winning this game. But I do think the real what matters most for me in this show's format is, we have talked about this before, the Browns' offensive line is going to look unrecognizable in 2 years. They will not have a single player who is starting right now for them on offensive line. Actually, let me say it like this. For the 2028 season, all 5 of their starting offensive linemen are not on the roster right now. Wyatt Teller, Ethan Posick, Joel Bitonio. All of them are free agents this upcoming offseason, all of them well over the age of 30. DeJuan Jones, one of the worst, least efficient offensive tackles in football. Conklin, hurt consistently over the last couple of years, and he has 2 years left on his deal, but he will be 32 next year, and at the end of his deal, he'll be 34. And I don't think they're going to let it get to that point. So I think that even if Conklin is back for next year, because I don't think they're all going to be gone next year, I think a couple of them will be back, but even if Conklin's gone, or even Conklin's back for next year, I don't know if he's going to be around the year after. The Browns have 2 first-round picks because they have the Jags' extra first-round pick this year. It would not shock me if both of those players are offensive linemen. Because I was yelling at them to draft an offensive lineman this offseason, and they didn't do it. So that is my what matters most from the Browns side of things. And you know what? I'm going to shout out the Browns' young rookies who played well. Carson Schwesinger was awesome. Harold Fannin, awesome. Dylan Sampson, awesome. Those guys were legit. And so I think that they nailed it with a lot of their picks. Now, we'll see if the quarterbacks end up panning out between Gabriel and Shedeur, because obviously those are the big ones. But the other ones surrounding those picks, you nailed it.
Right.
I didn't notice Mason Graham at all, but, hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, week 1.
Those other guys were fantastic. I also want to shout out Shemar Stewart, who we criticized on this show because of the lack of production. We were skeptical of whether or not he would get there because there's a lot of examples of guys that did not. Thought he was going to be a really good run defender. Could he get there as a pass rusher? Well, he's already showing that he is an NFL-level run defender. This dude was a monster. 88.9 overall PFF grade. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you wouldn't be able to see that because he had 0 sacks, 0 stats in the stat sheet at all whatsoever. His name is not there. And yet he was an animal on the line of scrimmage. So you love to see that from him game 1, showing the speed to power, still imposing against NFL offensive linemen, and the strength level is there for him. But ultimately, the Bengals, I'm sure we'll have more conversations on as the season goes on. The Browns specifically, though, great return on the rookies that you have now. But my goodness, when you do mock drafts for the Browns, if you don't have an offensive lineman as one of those 2 first-round picks, if not both, in my opinion, you're doing it wrong. So that's what matters most.
Yeah, it's a great call out as we start to not necessarily even rebuild teams, but when we do mock drafts and we talk about position groups that need to be highlighted over and over again. And we've had this combo with Cleveland last year. We kind of, everybody saw this coming, and it's only going to get much louder. All right, let's move over to Commanders Giants now and back to the NFC. The Giants, Trevor, have a conundrum right now, and it's a big one. They will not compete in this division until the offensive line is better. And it's a bigger issue than just blaming Andrew Thomas's injury all the time. The interior offensive line was not good. I had it pulled up. Russell Wilson was pressured 38% of the time in this game. And
he wasn't good under pressure either.
He's not really good under pressure anymore. It feels like that his skill set is deteriorating in that.
Well, the problem with Russ now is that he used to give you the explosives under pressure.
Exactly.
Now he doesn't. So now he just takes care of the football. Like, he had 0 turnover-worthy plays under pressure this past week. But he completed 5 of his 16 dropbacks that he was pressured. He's not even going.
That was off the dome. I could tell you've done a lot of talking already about this. Yeah, 5 of 17 dropbacks he completed a pass. His yards per attempt on those was 3.9. So you don't really get the credit anymore for taking care of the ball when you're just doing nothing with the ball. Literally doing nothing with the ball.
When you lose 21-6, how much credit am I going to give you?
Yeah, exactly. So back to the offensive line issue. I mean, the Giants, Russ was their leading rusher with 44 yards, but their running backs, Tyrone Tracy, 10 for 24, Devin Singletary, 3 carries for 9, Cam Scattaboo, 2 carries for -3 yards. They can't run the ball. And I just don't think this is just a Andrew Thomas issue away. But if they keep losing, Trevor, you have a coach that needs to show something. Can they put Jackson Dart out there? I don't think it's a good idea to put Jackson Dart out there behind this offensive line that can establish the run with a schedule where in a couple weeks they're going to have a stretch after the Saints game where it goes Eagles, Broncos, Eagles. So this is yeah, that's real. So this is a conundrum, right? Where the line's not good enough that Joe Shane has had how long to build. But your coach probably needs a spark at some point of this season because the young quarterback everyone rightfully is excited about because he had a great summer. But I don't know if it's a good idea to throw him out there into this right now. So the Giants have
philosophy is. But I was just about to say that their whole offensive philosophy is built around the deep pass, and they don't have the offensive line to do it.
Yeah,
they have the wide receivers to do it. They have the quarterbacks to do it.
Yeah.
They don't have the offensive line to do it.
Right. One quick note on the Commanders. Their run game and an extension of the run game is just going to be so much more dynamic this year because you see the element of Debo in the run game and the extension of the run game. When I say that, the manufactured touches. And then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Bill.
It's just how fast he has become the guy there and a thing is so awesome. And now defending a team like the Commanders is already so difficult because you're worrying about the run game with Jaden. But now you have a dynamic lead back and a receiver that's more of a gadget weapon. And I think Cliff is just going to be able to cook with these guys. They didn't even need an A+ game from Jaden to win by 2 scores.
Yeah.
Because that's how they can play this way now when they need to.
Yeah. Bill Krosky-Merritt, 4th on the depth chart, my ass. Nobody believed that. You ain't fooling anybody with that when his name was 4th on the depth chart. We knew it was happening. He gets into the end zone, which you love to see. Before we get on to the next game, this PFF betting segment is brought to you by our friends over at DraftKings. I nailed one. I had a couple of storyline 3-leg parlays out there this week, but the one that I nailed was having faith in the Las Vegas Raiders, having faith in Chip Kelly and Geno Smith. I got Geno Smith over 250 passing yards, paired with Deontay Thornton having more than 40 receiving yards, and then the Raiders money line as well. So love that little 3-leg parlay there. You guys can see all the action, of course, over at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You know, the lines that we'll talk about here and the odds, of course, they're subject to change because that's just how things go. But just letting you guys know, you don't have to let a bad leg haunt your parlays this season. Parlays, they turn into payouts. Now even near misses won't haunt your bet. The NFL season's here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is rewriting the rules with Ghost Leg, a new game-changing promotion that turns close calls into cold, hard cash. Best of all, of course, it is available to all DraftKings customers. Here's how it works. You build any 3-leg pregame NFL parlay. On Sunday, apply your Ghost Leg token, and if one leg loses, DraftKings will make it vanish just like it never existed, and they pay out in cash for the rest. Last season, over 30 million parlays were lost by a single leg. This year, Ghost Leg gives those busted bets a second life. You go over to sportsbook.draftkings.com or use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You can see all the lines that they have there right now. Thursday night game this upcoming week, Connor. Commanders-Packers. Commanders traveling to Green Bay. Green Bay feeling high and mighty, taking down the Lions. Commanders getting 3.5 in this one. I kind of like any time Jaden Daniels is getting 3.5. I don't know how you feel, but I kind of like Jaden Daniels getting 3.5.
I am going to back you on this one. Now, it's early, which always makes these tricky, but the Packers injury report has come out while we were recording. Their guard, Aaron Banks, did not practice, and Zach Tom also did not practice on a short week. The Packers might be shorthanded here. I'm not saying the Packers are going to lose because the Packers look great right now, but 3.5 points is a lot of points for Jaden Daniels and company. I am with you all the way.
Oh, man. I'm looking at the receiving props now. Longest reception for Terry McLaurin, over 22.5. I feel we're getting some Terry McLaurin redemption this week.
A slow start after not really being around this summer. So, we'll see when he can turn it on.
I could see it. Look, so those are, like, you're 2/3 of the way there. If you wanted to copy us there, obviously any 3-leg bet. No more busted parlays to haunt you all season with Ghost Leg. The bad leg vanishes. The payout does not. You can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PFF. This promo code PFF to unlock Ghost Leg, the promotion that makes one bad leg disappear and pays you out in real cash. Ghost your losses. Get your payout in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you've got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or just text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Fees may apply in Illinois. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Opt in for single-use token. Minimum 3+ legs and minus 500 odds per leg. Max bet varies. If only one leg of the bet loses, the bet will settle as if only the winning legs were placed, and the payout is in cash based on the odds when the bet was placed. See terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. Okay, the next game that I want to talk about for what matters most is the Panthers and the Jags. First and foremost, it looked great for the Jags. I think Liam Cohen's great. I've told people I think the Jags are in good hands with Liam Cohen. Trevor Lawrence, after the game, they were asking him about it, and he was like, I was confident. Like, that was the difference with this. Like, right. I felt like I knew what the defense was going to do. I felt very prepared for it. Liam had me very prepared. The running game was great. It feels like the running game has been terrible in Jacksonville for the last 2 years, or at least it's been very inconsistent. So the running game looked great. It wasn't the biggest day overall when it came to like explosive passes, but I think they're going to be totally fine there. The real what matters most to me has to deal with the Carolina Panthers. And we will have time to let it play out with Bryce, with the pass rush, which wasn't there for them. Like, those things I think have a chance to play out. It is time to have worry for Xavier Legette on the table. Because in this game, no Adam Thielen, Hunter Renfrow got cut and then got brought back when Adam Thielen got traded. So he wasn't even a roster guy. Jalen Coker is out, and Ted McMillan's a rookie playing in his first game. This should have been a game for Xavier Legette to shine. And yet, 7 targets, 3 catches, 10 total yards, -3 yards after the catch, 54.2 receiving grade. Connor, he's now played in 17 games because he missed 1 last year, so this is his 17th game in the NFL. He has not recorded a single game receiving grade above 68 in his career yet. Like, we don't even have one game of Xavier Legette, like, touching the ceiling that you need for him to have. I thought it was a little worrisome enough that you had Adam Thielen, who played well last year. You had Jalen Coker emerge. You have Xavier Legette, and yet they still opted to go with Ted McMillan, who this podcast loves. This is not an anti-Ted McMillan podcast. And in fact, like, I said I would pick Ted McMillan when we would go through our Panther scenarios. However, if you're them, if you're the team, you drafted Xavier Legette so that you wouldn't have to do that. If there's any point in which he was going to stand out, it would be the next 4 games in which Jalen Coker is not out there. And if he can't be a difference-making, at least wide receiver 2 for this team during that stretch, you get worried about just cutting your losses and probably drafting another wide receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round next year. But yeah, I'm starting to get worried about Legette. I really am.
I think it's fair because it felt like for a while we had the excuse of the fracture he was dealing with when he was really struggling and playing through it. And now you're talking about, and the Coker injury obviously caught them by surprise, but they moved on from Thielen. This is a chance like, hey man, it's all there for you and you got to capitalize on it. And I'm with you. It's just, you got to get more from him for this offense to go at the rate they want it to. So
who's next for you?
Raiders Patriots, where
yeah, baby,
a sneaky fun game. The Raiders, to me, the story is like this staff might actually get something out of Michael Mayer. And that allows them to play so differently by being a 2 tight end set kind of team. With it, and I know Bowers got hurt in this game, but Bowers and Mayer were insanely impactful for this pass game. And Michael Mayer's emergence allows him to stay on the line of scrimmage or open things up for Brock Bowers even more. So Michael Mayer actually outsnapped him in this game, and once again, Bowers got banged up in it. But this Raiders team that gets a big shot in the arm thanks to Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, and I know Gentry didn't have a lot of room to work with, but they're going to be between the reliability of Jacoby Myers and now maybe Michael Mayer being something, they have pieces now. But the bigger story in this game to me of what matters most is the Patriots. And I'll just outright say it, Trevor. The Patriots' offensive line and Drake May's slow internal clock at the moment are a bad combination. And he was pressured on almost 40% of his dropbacks. I'm not going to sit here and act like Will Campbell just got beat all day, but he got...
No, he didn't. He didn't.
But he got beat on the one where it was a strip sack, and that's the one you get remembered for. Will Campbell said this himself once upon a time. Like, you get beat once, and everybody talks about it. And it's not just a Will Campbell thing. Morgan Moses is getting old and looks a little old on the right side. Jared Wilson is playing guard, and that's a big adjustment for a college center that was a one-year starter. I'm not panicking or writing off the Patriots season, but I don't know if New England has the skill talent to make up for a quarterback in his second year that is playing a little slow, that isn't going to get the protection he needs. And that's concerning because this is one of the games where you go, and I thought I took the Raiders spread in this, so I knew I felt like they would be very, very feisty. But I think a lot of Patriots, fans, media, whatever, was like, this is a game we should win where we're at right now. All the improvements we made, Mike Vrabel's here. This is something that can it's a bad combination right now, and I don't know if it just magically gets better this year because the offensive line talent I don't think is good enough.
Yeah, I like what the Raiders are doing.
I do too.
And even for as excited as we were about Mike Vrabel, it was always going to take time.
Yeah.
Patriots had one of the worst rosters in the NFL. What actually really worries me about the Patriots for this year is Christian Gonzalez's injury.
Well, he's
got a soft tissue injury, and this team cannot cover without him.
He's in practice since July.
Yeah, he's got a soft tissue injury, and this team cannot cover without him. And when you are that bad without your superstar,
that's fair.
You are tempted to throw him out there, right? You're tempted to be like, can you give us 80% today?
Don't do
and
that.
80% with a soft tissue injury is tough. So I think Vrabel will handle it as best he can, but I got worried about that with the Patriots.
Stout against the run. You're not going to run in New England. But
it's a big year for Drake May, though. Definitely a big year for Drake May. And just because the Patriots made a lot of investments in the offensive line this past draft does not mean they're not going to continue that next year. So
no, I think Drake May is going to be fine in the long haul, but I don't think they have enough right now at wide receiver and offensive line that a lot of people were projecting under this magical jump this year, where I think they got a little ahead of themselves.
Yeah. Cardinals Saints is the next game that I want to touch on. I think we'll have we'll have a lot of time to talk about the New Orleans Saints later in the season. I don't think they're a very good team. I think we're going to talk about them as a team that's drafting in the top 3. I guess maybe that's what matters most is the Saints didn't show me anything. And in fact, I thought the Saints played a pretty good game, all things considered.
Right.
And were not able to still score more than 13 points. The problem with Spencer Rattler right now is that, or at least that how people maybe perceive him is, you remember Spencer Rattler's first year when he was at Oklahoma, he had a 9.4 turnover or big time throw percentage. We all thought, oh, this is this gunslinger, QB1 kid, everything. He has not been a gunslinger like that since.
No.
That's not who he is. So instead, he's like playing a somewhat conservative game with a defense that's not going to hold up that way, and with an offense that's got explosive players deep down the field. So I don't know if that identity is right. I think that we'll see Tyler Shuck kind of soon at this point. But really, what matters most for me is the Cardinals. And this offseason, I was asking the Cardinals to upgrade their offensive line. They didn't really do anything on the offensive line. They didn't draft an offensive lineman until the 6th round. It was Hayden Connor. And they drafted Isaiah Adams the year before in the 3rd round in like the 70s, but I think he has struggled as well. I just think the Cardinals, the ceiling of the Cardinals offensive line right now is so low. Like, I don't think they're not an offensive line that's going to be catastrophic for you each week. But I also don't think this is an offensive line that's going to impose their will on you the way that they want to. I don't think it's going to be an offensive line that's going to allow Kyler to not be as jittery as he is, which I felt like he was again in this game. And so, to me, the long-term, really what matters most for the Arizona Cardinals is you upgraded the defense this past offseason. You better make some changes to that offensive line this upcoming offseason, because I think that could really hold the key to them seriously competing in 2027. But to me, I don't think they have the ceiling at offensive line right now to be able to do it. So that's where my mind first goes to with the Cardinals. It is really making a serious upgrade, not just looking at the depth chart of the offensive line and saying, no, we're fine here. Dream bigger than that.
Right.
Strive for greater than just fine. Let's get great. Let's get fantastic. Let's get some ass kickers in here. So that was my what matters most there from that game.
Moving over to Colts Miami, one of the rare blowouts of the slate. I mean, this game was at one point 23-0. I'll get to Miami in a second. With the Colts, what matters most to me is that Shane Steichen, number one, with a quarterback that could just run what he wants to do. We saw this with Gardner Minshew once upon a time. Now we saw it in 1 week with Daniel Jones. Shane Steichen is a really good play caller.
I agree.
A really, really good offensive mind. I wanted Anthony Richardson to work. I really did. But I think it painted a totally different picture for people about Shane Steichen that's wrong. I think he's a great offensive mind in this league. And if he just gets competence at quarterback, he's going to be able to shine. And that stood out to me with the usage of Tyler Warren, who was a monster in his NFL debut. A monster. And what I loved about it, Trevor, was that just how they moved him around the field, They used him in different ways. They got him the ball in different ways. He was getting after it in the run game when they asked him to get after it. They handed him the ball on a 3rd and 1 as a fullback. Like, they look at this dude as a weapon in every aspect of the game. And this is, you could see why that draft room was so excited to get him. The Colts could be a pain in the ass this year if Daniel Jones is just competent, because Steichen is that good of a coach with a plan for his skill talent.
How about edge 1, layout 2, lot 2, getting the pick, baby?
And they need a big layout 2, lot 2 year, because you look at their edge group and you want even more out of him. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we got to talk about the Miami side, though. I just think Miami is hitting this wall of, like, how many times can they just try this? You know what I mean?
Vibes have never been worse.
I mean, Greer has had a long tenure there. It's kind of amazing at this point that they just never try anything else.
Unfortunately, I think that the plan is not working. And I think that we're getting close to the answer
to knowing that.
To knowing that this plan, and when I say the plan, I mean, this is the plan. Prioritize speed at wide receiver, get the ball out of Tua Tagovailoa's hand below 2.7 seconds, and not really spend a lot on the offensive line, thinking that you can mitigate the offensive line because you're getting the ball out of Tua's hands immediately. 2 of the 4 turnover-worthy plays that Tua had in this game were throws that he simply cannot miss. If you are going to have success at a high level doing this with this offensive philosophy. The first one was a Tyreek Hill. He just airmails it. Tyreek Hill scores that touchdown. It's 7-3. The ball game is different than at that point at the beginning stages in the first quarter. He has to hit Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is walking into the end zone if he does that, and he just airmails it over him. The second one was a pre-snap safety motion from Lou Anarumo when the Dolphins motioned a wide receiver to the other side of the line of scrimmage. The safeties rotated and went from a 2-high shell to 1-high, so they went from middle of the field open to middle of the field closed. Tua has to see that. He has to see that.
The offense isn't built that way, though.
But it has to be built for him to have these elite pre-snap reads, because if he doesn't, he can't get the ball out of his hands in 2.7 seconds. And if he can't get the ball out of his hands in 2.7 seconds, he gets sacked.
Yes, they're dead.
So that's why I say we're getting closer to answering the question, does this offensive philosophy work? Because it worked initially. It worked in, what were the years? 2022, 2023, whatever, the first 2 years of McDaniel. It worked. Now, it didn't work to the success of the level that they wanted to, but they made the playoffs. They won games. Now it ain't even working. Even when you have the guys out there and healthy. Because the whole thing was, the Dolphins aren't healthy. Now they're healthy. I'm losing faith. I'm losing faith that they're going to be here for the long haul.
Yeah, I think everybody is. A couple more of these, and Dolphins fans are going to be saying, let's start over. Just fresh, clean slate, GM and head coach.
Yeah, I think that draft season could be a fun one for Dolphins fans. So smash that subscribe button is what
Stick around.
That would be,
Pull up a
that would
chair.
be my advice there. Refreshments in the back. Broncos Titans. Bo Nix 4 turnover-worthy plays.
This game was on crack,
and a lot of them were bad. A lot of them were really bad.
Yeah,
but
find your Auburn self. He went back up the sleeve of the tattoo.
Okay, but this is actually that. This is what matters most in this game. For the Titans, the O-line's not good enough. Okay, the O-line's not good enough. You just hope that Cam Ward can show you that he can be a clutch quarterback.
The pass catchers are good enough either.
No, I mean. It's just the team's not good enough.
The
team's and we will guys, we will dig into the Titans plenty as the year goes on, because they're going to be a team that's going to have a high draft pick. For now, what matters most comes from the Denver Broncos, specifically for Bo Nix, because the reason why I'm picking this as the matters most is you can very much tell with the mentality that he had in this game that him and Peyton got together this offseason, and Sean Payton said, we have a chance to be one of the best teams in the NFL this upcoming season. But he said we will have an elite defense behind us, but the only way that we achieve our ceiling for this team is if you open it up more. I need you to win games with your arms more than you have over the last 3 years. Now, unfortunately, that brings up some Auburn Day stuff. And we saw that this past weekend. But to me, it's actually a really good scenario for the Broncos, because Bo Nix gets to test things in ways that he hasn't in 4 years. He gets to be aggressive with his arm. He had a bunch of turnover-worthy plays, of course. Didn't look pretty, but they won the football game. So now he gets to go back to the tape and be like, okay, this is where it did not work. And I think you could move forward with that because they won 10 games last year by having a really good defense and with Bo being pretty conservative. I don't think the run game is going to be that much more explosive this year. And the only way they actually achieve what they want to achieve, which is winning that division and making noise in the AFC, is if Bo becomes more of a risky passer, more of somebody who will push the ball and make the throws that you have to make to beat some of the best teams. And I think they know that. And they're going to go through growing pains through the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season. But what matters most is that he's testing this, and now we get a clear answer of Bo Nix, does he have this in him by the time we get to the end of the year? So that was what matters most there for Broncos Titans.
It's a good call out. They got to learn. I know they view themselves as a team ready to go take that division, and it's going to put more on the plate of the quarterback. So hopefully get some of that out now. So Packers-Lions, one of the most highly anticipated games, I think, of the entire weekend. It's easy to get up here and sit in front of the microphone and be like, Micah Parsons this, Micah Parsons that. And that is absolutely a story. This is a Packers team that's been really good for a while, but it always feels like they didn't have a guy on defense that can just completely obliterate the game when the moment matters, like when the lights are the brightest. But I actually saw in this game, Trevor, a trickle effect that the attention Micah Parsons commands, and it's just 1 week, they got to carry this over throughout a full season, but they haven't flashed like this, in my opinion, yet. Lucas Van Ness and Devontae Wyatt played maybe their best NFL football in this game. And I wonder if the presence of Micah Parsons not only aids that, but they're going to need these guys to be ready to roll, because there's going to be times where the opposition just says, we are not letting Micah Parsons beat us today up front. But if LVN and Devontae Wyatt play like they did week 1, both as pass rushers and how stout they were against the run, with Edgerrin Cooper flying around like a Fred Warner light maniac behind them, this front seven can be unbelievable.
Yeah.
So this is a sign for me where I'm like, if that's the Green Bay Packers front, forget Micah Parsons. We know how great he is. But the accessory parts are along for the ride like that. The Packers have a very real chance to win the NFC.
No, I mean, they have a very real chance to win the Super Bowl.
Sure.
They absolutely
because Jordan
do.
Love is healthy and looked amazing.
Okay, Texans-Rams is the next game that we're hitting here. Texans O-line is very bad.
Shocker.
Very bad.
First off, how could we see this coming?
Said this on the PFF NFL show, right? Like, you made your bed, now you have to lie in it. And I don't mean for
it stinks.
I don't mean for that to be more harsh than it needs to be. They clearly didn't move on from Laramie Tunsil because they thought he was a bad football player. They moved on from him for other reasons. Now, what was reported was they didn't love, his, veteran presence in the locker room. What did he have a high work ethic? Was he inspiring the young offensive linemen the way that they wanted to? Like, that was sort of what we had heard. But he was the only offensive lineman on the team worth a damn the year before. And you trade him, you're trying to patchwork it together, and it was bad. It was very bad in week 1. Now, it's not an ideal week. The Rams have a sick defensive line.
Right. That front is sick.
Right. And so, obviously...
But that's the NFL, man. You can only do so many times. Oh, they're pretty good.
No, it's true. You're hoping that weeks in the future aren't that bad, and they're not going to be, because I do think the Rams have one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. But the fact of the matter is, they had 7 plays this past week where there was a pressure recorded before 2 seconds. If you have a play where you're pressured before 2 seconds, your best case scenario is probably a sack. What you're just hoping is that you don't fumble the football or throw an interception.
Right.
So it just sucks, because this is another year of young CJ Stroud where we go, what's he going to do? And I hate that. I hate having this conversation about young, promising quarterbacks that we just go, his O-line's bad. What are we going to do? Sucks. It was not ideal. Not ideal. And they failed their first test. And it was a tough first test. It was a very, very tough first test, but they failed. And they scored 9 points. And it's just, I pray that it gets better quickly, because I want to see this Houston Texans team play really well, because I think on a lot of positions, especially on the defense side of the football, they are absolutely playoff caliber. and they could be a really
sure.
good team. And their offensive line was terrible.
Yeah, they've shown that. It's just on defense. The problem is, once again, like you said, it's breaking apart plays before they ever even get started. Where it doesn't matter what you draw up, what you're calling in the flow of the game, you just don't stand a chance at times.
Yeah.
So it's very tough. Ravens-Bills. Did we get the best game of the year?
We might have.
On the first Sunday night?
We might have.
Holy smokes. So you're going to hear on every podcast the greatness of, this Bills comeback and how all great comebacks like that take a bounce or some luck here or there. And Prater showing up. And, not to mention, what are the odds of a Derrick Henry fumble in that situation? My take from this game, Trevor, this is the one game where I'm like, I just have a general take.
Okay.
These coaches in this game, when these caliber of teams are playing each other with two quarterbacks that can go down as two of the greatest of this generation. They are just playing on easy mode, the both of them. They need to embrace the reality of this matchup and never, ever put the game in the hands of their defense at the end. I get it. You've spent all these assets on your defense. You need to show your defense that you have faith in them. This isn't like one shot at Harbaugh because he punted. That's not it. And I know Lamar might have been banged up or whatever, but the bottom line, he chose to punt at the end of that game. And you cannot tell me that there's a soul in the world that sat there and went, Josh Allen ain't getting them in field goal range here. Field goal range. You have to, even if you didn't get it, they might score faster and you have your timeouts and get the ball back.
That's what does it for me. That's what, so the fact that you have to, just as an extension on what you're talking about, you have to control as much of the game as you possibly can.
Yes.
And the worst part about that ending for the Ravens wasn't even the fact that Josh Allen got them into field goal range. It was the fact that he was able to then run out the clock and then completely control things to where they kicked the field goal with 0 left on the clock. That's what actually you are trying to avoid there. That's what you are trying to avoid. Because I agree with you completely.
They will meet again, and I think it has to be a lesson learned. And you might lose anyway, but at least you lost.
Die on your sword.
Thank you. It's just, man, but him and Lamar going at it, like it is the true clash of the Titans, but they're both coaches. You have to embrace it. Get over it if your defense gets pissed at you. You cannot lose control when you have the chance to decide your fate.
I agree. The last game, the only game that we didn't hit is the 49ers and Seahawks game. 17-13, the 49ers end up winning this one at the end. This is another thrilling one that, man, every single time that these guys line up against each other, it's a lot of fun to watch. For me, what matters most, I don't really have one for the 49ers. They're still a wait and see, work in progress type of a thing with a lot of their rookies and just the health status of a lot of the guys on their team. So I don't really have one there for them. On the Seahawks side of things, for as much as I think some people might look at the offensive line and still think they need to make offensive line additions, moving forward, I'm getting pretty convinced that their first round pick is going to be a skill position player. Like, I'm getting pretty convinced that it's either going to be a corner or a wide receiver, because Cooper Kupp had this. Jackson Smith-Njigba led this team with 13 targets, 9 receptions, 124 receiving yards. Next on the list was Cooper Kupp with 15 receiving yards. And now it's not going to look like that every single week, but. Hey, come on.
I don't know.
Easy.
I don't know how much
Elijah
he has
Arroyo,
left in the tank.
Elijah Arroyo, respect. Respect him.
Yes.
Respect him.
My point is, does Cooper Kupp have anything left in the tank, man?
I know. I don't know if he does. And then on the other side of things, like, I know Reek Woolen will give you some good games, but this is a bad Reek Woolen game, and it was a reminder that I think he is just more up and down than a lot of people talk about. And I think you got studs in the secondary with certainly with Devon Witherspoon. Josh Jobe was really good in this game, but do you love him as a consistent secondary player for you moving forward in 2026 and beyond? I think they're going to play the board and go for a skill position player. That's where it feels like we're going here for the Seattle Seahawks, unless things really turn around throughout the rest of the season. But that, to me, is what matters most, is you're sort of building your early offseason strategies maybe for the Seattle Seahawks. That's it.
I'm with you.
That's it. We'd love to hear from you guys. I know that we kind of had to speed run this one a little bit. They won't always be this, like quick of tempo here for this show, but schedules, we had to get out of here. And we
have no bye weeks yet.
Yeah.
You and I have a absolutely nuts week, and we already started watching tape for Stock Watch, which will be as long as it always is. So that, it's a big
we'll make
difference.
it up to you on Wednesday, we promise. I shipped all the hats.
First off, I am in my living room applauding for this man when he sends me the picture. Everybody give Trevor an extra thank you. What a lunatic. Allocating so much of his life to make sure everybody instantly gets their hats. And thank you to everybody that bought a hat. We are floored by the response, where we're kind of scrambling here of like, what is next for merch? Because clearly there's a desire.
Yeah, you guys love the hats. And to sell it out, we sold out in 12 hours. And those 12 hours was 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. is when we sold out the hats. More hats than I thought that we were going to have for, for a week plus. So give us ideas. We would love to hear what you thought of what we thought of your teams. Best way to do that, youtube.com/NFL Stock Exchange. You can hit the show up on Twitter, on Instagram, at NFLSE Show, everywhere, TikTok, all that good stuff. You can follow us at Tampa Bay Trey, at Connor J. Rogers. We would appreciate that as well. And let us know what other merch you want. Let us know what you think of your team. Let us know where the panic meter is. Like 1 week in, how'd you feel that they played? We would love to hear from you.
What matters most to you?
We'd love to go back and forth with everybody who watched their team very, very closely. This is a community, after all. And let us know what kind of merch you're thinking about, because we can sort of get into the lab and sort of design, again, whether it's shirts, hoodies, bucket hats, like whatever it is. We have the ability to design a lot of this stuff. We just got to hear what the demand is from you guys. So let us know in the comment section. If you're not subscribed to the show already, please do so. We would really love to have you hanging out with us throughout the season as we get into draft season. But Connor, anything else before we get out of here?
No, I'm really excited for Stock Watch. We're going to once again talk about the quarterbacks at the top of the show. A lot more performances to break down. We'll bring new names. We'll talk about some other new players as well. And I can't wait to get this rolling every week. It's good to be back in this format. We really missed it. We love that our audience missed it so much. Mondays, NFL heavy days, and there will be shows that are probably well over 2 hours. Wednesdays into the latter part of the week's college football draft Stock Watch days. So we have a really good weeks set up ahead of us here.
Pumped for the season, man. Pumped. It's great to talk about some live football.
It's overwhelming.
Again. It is. But every week we're going to be here with you guys, rocking through all of it. Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. For Connor Rogers, I'm Trevor Sikkema saying thank you once again for watching the NFL Stock Exchange Show. See you guys for Stock Watch on Wednesday.